Arrowhead. So that's a piece of stone, yeah? And this, you see the black? That's glue. Glue made from pine resin, charcoal and beeswax. And then that's a piece of sinew that's been wrapped around it to strengthen it. And this end, you've got glue here and a piece of sinew up through the middle. So this is for hunting. So if you want dinner, that's what you need.
Not breakfast.
No, you'd have porridge.
If you're a
for
carnivore.
breakfast. Yeah, have some grains or some roots. That'd be nice. We've got milk, but then everybody was lactose intolerant. So they didn't drink milk. They probably made yogurt and cheese from the milk.
Okay.
But only small children could drink milk.
Nice. Okay, interesting.
There you go. Firewood to warm up your dinner. There's the axe to chop the wood with.
And that's the rock to make the fire, right?
Yes. What's it called?
I don't know.
Flint.
Flint. Okay.
Yes. Where do you come from?
Syria.
You got flint in Syria.
Yes,
I'm
that's
sure.
true.
Yeah.
We do.
Yeah, you have fabulous culture in Syria.
Yeah.
And in fact, I was just talking to a guy just now. All of our culture has come from the Middle East.
Yeah.
Because that's the cradle of civilization, and it works its way out. So we're at the far end.
Yeah.
By the time it gets to us, you've been doing it for 1,000 years.
Yeah.
You know, you're old hat,
Yeah.
you don't care anymore.
You mean prehistoric eras?
Yeah. So things like farming, metalworking, they all start in the Middle East and eventually come to us. But that's flint. That's
Middle
natural
East?
flint. So if you were to dig down here, that's what you'd find.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you'd take one of those and something like this stone.
Okay.
Can you see they're different?
Yeah.
This is a piece of sandstone.
Okay.
So have you been up to the Henge?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Big stones at Stonehenge are made of this.
Okay.
Okay. This is used for making tools and things, not in the construction of Stonehenge.
Okay.
But it is in the ground.
Okay.
So if you take one of those and you find an edge here, and you strike the edge, this will flake away.
Okay.
So this is a bit like glass, it flakes.
Okay.
You know?
Okay.
So you work all the way around, and you hopefully you end up with an axe, or really good, you could end up with something like that.
Wow.
So arrowhead made of stone,
And it's really sharp, right?
give you a nasty headache.
Wow. Yes.
Is it like a glass?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Wow.
It's not as, this is not as sharp as glass.
Yeah,
When
yeah,
it's
but-
fresh,
yeah.
when you're doing it, your
Yeah.
hands get covered in little cuts. It's, you know,
Yeah.
that's what happens
Yeah,
because
yeah,
it's very sharp when you make it.
Wow.
Yeah. And the people that do
Amazing.
this practice on glass bottles because it's silica.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
okay.
it's the same crystalline structure, if you like.
Okay.
And why feathers?
For the direction, like for the wind and all of that.
Sounds reasonable. Yeah, you think she's right?
To make it faster? To make it faster?
No, not make it faster. Make it more accurate.
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 Yeah, because you see the feathers have a bend. Yeah, they all have a curve.
Yeah.
When you pick feathers up on the ground, they either go that way or they go that way. So you want 3 feathers from the same wing, they all have the same curve. And that curve on here, these are half feathers, but they're all from the same wing. So when that's fired, it makes it spin like that.
Sort of like a bullet down the barrel of a gun.
Yeah, my stick is not straight. It's a natural stick. So without the feathers, it will do that in the air. And the feathers make it spin, and that gives you accuracy. Yeah, quite right. Like on a modern firearm, you carve a groove in the barrel for the bullet to make the bullet spin.
Yes.
It's for this reason. We thought we'd invented rifling, but they were doing it 9,000 years ago.
Wow.
Physics.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And what
Like a
about these
school,
houses?
Yeah, what do you want to know? These are copies of what was excavated at Durrington.
Oh, those
You
replicas.
don't build, you don't build up here because you're on top of a hill. You're in the wind. There's no water. Okay, there are no taps. Ignore that. So if you're building houses, you build by the river.
Yeah.
And these are copies of what they excavated by the
Oh.
river.
Okay.
But we know from the rubbish that they were throwing away, because you can radiocarbon date things like the bones in the midden pits and the rubbish pits. And we know that the village was occupied at the same time as they were building the stone circle at Stonehenge. But remember, the stone circle is much younger than the original earth ditch. The earth ditch is 500 years beforehand, so it takes a long time to build. But the stone circle, the tools that they use, like these. So this is an antler pick, and there's a spade.
Oh, wow, okay.
So when they were digging the ditch around Stonehenge and making the holes to put the stones in, because all those stones, a third of the stones in the ground, to make sure they stand up, and they were dug with these. And these can be radiocarbon dated, and because we can also radiocarbon date the rubbish in the village, we know that they were living in the village at the same time as the stones were being erected,
Wow, okay.
only for about 60 years. So when people say how long did it take, we think between 40 and 60 years to put up the stone circle, which is 2 generations. So I don't mind doing what my dad did, but my granddad's stuff is all old-fashioned.
Yeah.
We do that. But remember, it's 1,000 years to build Stonehenge,
Wow.
and we don't know why. They're built with these.
Wow.
But the other good thing about this is, of course, this is yesterday's burger. Because when they were killing animals, everything got used.
The bones, yeah?
Yeah, the bones were all used for tools. If you're not doing that,
And is this real bone or replicas also?
it's real bone. Yeah, it's cow bone.
Oh.
Shoulder bone from a cow. So there's my last Chinese takeaway. It's a spare rib. So that's what they would do with their bones. That's a piece of antler.
Oh,
Okay, so all the bones that come out have a value. If you're not doing that, you could do something like...
Lost or stolen?
Yeah, she walked off with it. I have to watch her all the time. So there's a piece of antler that's probably for raking the ground. Not this one, this is the modern one.
Yeah.
But typically that's what you'd find for raking.
Actually,
because
very
we're starting
modern.
agriculture. Yeah. Thank you. We can make something like this from bone.
Yeah.
Oh.
So we liked our music. You know, we'd gather in the evening, we'd tell stories and make music and sing, chant, drums and flutes. You want to do some woodworking?
This is a hammer?
There's a bone chisel.
Wow.
I've used that one. I was cutting holes this size through 4 inches of timber using that chisel.
Wow.
So it takes a while,
Yeah.
but it works. That's the essence. And we were able to joint up behind the bushes over here is a sledge, which we made using these tools, so that you could pull stone up and down the grass last year. So then the skins obviously can be clothing.
Yeah.
The brain of the animal is used for tanning or preparing the skin.
Yeah.
The sinews and ligaments you take out,
To do.
because for us we throw them away.
Yeah.
But for people in this time, this is a piece of sinew from the back of a deer leg.
Wow.
So the back of your leg, there's this big cord.
Yeah.
It makes your foot flap up and down when you're running.
Yeah.
In my case, when I'm walking. I don't do running. But that's what makes it work. So it's joining the muscle to the bone
Okay.
of a deer, yeah?
Yeah.
But it's solid.
Okay.
What we want is the fibers,
Uh-huh.
because all cordage is twisted fiber.
Yeah.
So you have to sit tonight, you can take this home with you, and you have to chew it. You mustn't swallow,
Okay.
because we want these fibers out,
Okay.
and then we're going to twist them together to make them into a cord.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So for every dead animal, there are 1,000 uses.
Yeah. Back home also, yeah, everything was used from an animal.
Absolutely.
Everything.
Yes.
Like there's no single thing that we
Yeah.
don't eat or use.
Yes. Well, I grew up eating the brain of animals, and you
Back home
you
we
put it all in the pot, and it would all get boiled up together.
And these structures here, when they were built, what was the wall made of?
The wall is constructed from wood like this, so it's wattle and daub. This is the wattle, and then you cover it with here chalk, because we have chalk, But remember, in this time, if you don't have it, you've got to carry it on your back. So it's no good saying, I'd like a brick extension, because the bricks are B&Q and you've got to carry them.
Yeah.
So you dig down in the ground here and you use what you got. So here is chalk. 20 miles down the road, this would be mud,
Oh.
yeah, or clay, or
Okay.
whatever they've got. And all over the world, you'll find houses like this because the construction is relatively simple, so we can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't need special skills.
Yeah.
Obviously, it will be passed down through the family. You need some tools because you've got to cut quite a lot of timber. You've got to gather a lot of reeds. You've got to prepare a lot of chalk or mud or whatever. But it's something that we could do, and it's all local materials.
Yeah,
You know, you don't have to buy anything. You just do it from what you've got.
And this was all around 10,000 years ago?
These are based on 5,000 years ago, but houses like this have been in existence for a long time, and they're still in existence.
Yeah.
If you go to Devon today, you'll find houses still made of mud down there. We call it cob. Yeah, it's very fashionable.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's mud without the without the wattle.
5,000
But
years.
throughout the Middle East, Africa,
Yeah.
India, China, you'll find houses very similar to this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We do have it like from clay.
Yes,
And what was the climate like around here?
Mediterranean, we think.
Really?
And we think that from pollen grain analysis.
Oh wow,
So
Mediterranean.
from the pollen in the ground, you know, from that period, it's the plants that will grow in a Mediterranean climate. So like today, but not like our, you know, not frosty like our winters. Because we're after the Ice Age. The Ice Age was 9,000 years ago. Yeah, 7,000 years ago we separated from Europe, and we're talking, for us, 5,000 years ago.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so
It
much.
was really great.
Yeah. Have a
Thanks
very
very much.
pleasant day.
Have a nice day.
Thank you.